Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, proper greetings whenever you get here. We start this with the book of Enoch, and this is going to be I don't know how long it's going to be, but it should be a pretty good review of the Deuteronomy. I'll be careful not to go too in depth with certain things because I have a great review that I'm working on, and I just don't want to undermine bringing together some of the concepts, that I've taken a lot of time to be put a lot of time in consideration. Put down the scripture this last few days and kind of stayed away from that. But I've meditated and I've been thinking. And the best way to do this is like this. And I'm going to read from the 89th chapter from the book of Enoch. We're going to pick up there. And where we're going to pick up at is we're going to read the story of Abraham we're going to read the story of the Genesis and the vision of Enoch as it applies and appertains to the story. I'll stop where we're just about at. Verse 10, and they began to bring forth beasts of the field and birds, so that there arose different genera, lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, hyenas, wild boars, foxes, squirrels, swine, falcons, vultures, kites, eagles, and ravens. And among them was born a white bull, and they began to bite one another. But that white bull which was born among them begat a wild ass, and the white bull with it, and the wild asses multiplied. Stop. What this is speaking on is that when the sons of Noah get off of the ark and they begin to procreate, and they eventually get to the point to where they make the Tower of Confusion, and the earth opens up and all these things that have been living within the earth come out, and there's this indiscriminate amalgamating taking place. What happens is that all these different things are coming up. But a white bull, who was like the white bull who was on the ark, right? He's born among all them. He's born among all these amalgamations. Okay, so no matter what happened, he ended up still being a white bull. And it's saying that that white bull begat a wild ass and a white bull with it. So the wild ass or the donkeys are the Ishmaelites, and the wild ass is Ishmael. Okay. And why this is an important thing is because if you overlook the influence of the Ishmaelites or their cooperation or just their hand is at play even to this day. And the white bull is Isaac. Okay, and then we keep on reading, and it says, but that bull which was born from him begat a black wild boar and a white sheep. Now, why this is so important is because it means that whatever animal this white bull bred with was no longer, right, a bull. You see what I'm saying? No matter what kind of animal it came from. So even if you wanted to say that it came from the lions, right? You understand what I'm saying? Even if you wanted to contend that would still be, you would still have to say that, well, from the lions, and what makes this blood mixing take place. Now, one moment. I try not to get too carried away with the things that don't matter. But this is a very important thing because it goes from being a bull, right, to being now a black wild boar and a white sheep. And the former begat many boars, but that sheep begat what? 12 sheep. And these are the 12 sons of Jacob or Israel. And when those 12 sheep had grown, they gave one of them up to the asses. And those asses again gave up that sheep to the wolves. And that sheep, and that sheep right now is Joseph, okay? And the Lord brought the 11 sheep to live with it and pasture with it among the wolves. And the wolves are the Egyptians. I'm trying to give some gravity to everything that's taken place. So when we talk about the Deuteronomy, you'll get what I'm going with this. And the Lord brought the 11 to live with it and pasture with it among the wolves. And they multiplied and became many flocks of sheep. And the wolves began to fear them. And they oppressed them until they destroyed, cried aloud on account of the little ones, and to complain unto their Lord, And when it says they destroyed, being the people or the sheep who are being destroyed in this instance, but it would have been the children of Israel, if you understand. And see, this is a vision of Enoch. This is before the flood. This is a major thing. I'm trying to break it down so that way y'all understand that everything we've read about it was made just moments to a man in vision who became an angel. And these moments became actual written instances to a degree that we have some account of in the book that's called the Bible. In the first 5 books that we've taken the time over the last 10 months and some change to read. Where we at? And the wolves began to fear them, and they oppressed them until they cried aloud on account of their little ones, and to complain unto their Lord. And the sheep which had been saved from the wolves fled and escaped to the wild asses. So the sheep is Moses, right? He smote one of the wolves. It doesn't speak on that, right? But he gets off, he goes to the Ishmaelites, the Midianites, right? Understand? And this is who he's among. And I saw the sheep, how they lamented and cried and besought their Lord with all their might, till the Lord of the sheep descended at the voice of the sheep from a lofty abode, and came to them and pastured them. Stop right there. Why I had to read all of this, because that's a major part. That explains what the people have to do right now in our very current moment, is we need to ask the Most High God to come get us and save us. Not only that, but it's speaking to the condition that they were in. They didn't feel that they could save themselves. So even with all the murmuring that was taking place in Egypt, let's not forget that there was a feeling of depravity, okay? There was a feeling of hopelessness that the Egyptians had brought upon the people, that the wolves had brought upon the sheep. Come on. And he called the sheep which had escaped the wolves, and spake with it concerning the wolves, that it should admonish them not to touch the sheep. Now, I want y'all to understand. I know they say it's a wolves in sheep clothing, but it really should be a sheep in wolves clothing, because if y'all get that, there was a sheep among the wolves who played as a wolf when the sheep came to him. They didn't know. Once again, if you read the story and understand it, come on, and start to put it all together. Right. A sheep in wolves clothing is really the story of the scripture, not something that a person would try to get you to believe on the other side. Now, let's just go ahead and keep reading. Now, we're going to get to this part where it says, and he called that sheep which had escaped them, which had escaped the wolves, verse 17, and spoke with it concerning the wolves, that it should admonish them not to touch the sheep. And the sheep went to the wolves according to the word of the Lord. And another sheep met it, Aaron, his brother, and went with it. And the two went and entered together into the assembly of those wolves. And they spake with them and admonished them not to touch the sheep from henceforth. And thereupon I saw the wolves, how they oppressed the sheep exceedingly, with all their power. And the sheep cried aloud. And the Lord came to the sheep, and they began to smite the wolves. What? And the Lord came to the sheep, and they began to smite the wolves. And the wolves began to make lamentation. But the sheep became quiet, and forthwith ceased to cry out. And I saw the sheep till they departed from amongst the wolves. But the eyes of the wolves were blinded. And those wolves departed in pursuit of the sheep with all their power. And the Lord of the sheep went with them as their leader, and all his sheep followed him. And his face was dazzling and glorious and terrible to behold. But the wolves began to pursue those sheep till they reached the sea of water. And the sea was divided, and water stood on this side and on that before their face. And their Lord led them and placed himself between them and the wolves. And those wolves did not yet see the sheep. They proceeded into the midst of that sea. And the wolves followed the sheep, and those wolves ran into the midst of that sea. And when they saw the Lord of the sheep, they turned to flee before his face. But the sea gathered itself together and became as it had been created. And the water swelled and rose till it covered those wolves. And I saw till all the wolves who pursued those sheep perished and were drowned. Stop right there. Big things happening. So when I go back and I look at this part where it says that they began to smite those wolves, several ways you can look at that. But the most honest way is that in the day in the life, outside of the Egyptians getting hit with the plagues, the children of Israel, aka the Hebrews, had started to strike back, and they had started to fight back. And so when you couple a people resisting willfully with the fact that their God is sending plagues from out of nowhere onto the people, and it's not touching them, but it's getting everybody else, it gives them the ability to get from up under the military might of the Egyptians. Now, let's just go ahead and keep reading. I'm not going to keep reading just like that. Let's just keep going down the line of things. No, it says that this is the Lord of the sheep. He himself puts himself between the sheep and the Egyptians, or the wolves, or the Hebrews and the Egyptians, however you want to say it, right? And what happens is that when they see his face, the truest thing happens. So this is where all these mafiosos, all these so-called gangsters get it from, that if they see you, you have to take them out, because the Most High's God rule is that if you see my face, I have to kill you. So no man shall see my face and yet live. The Egyptians saw his face and they all died. None of them lived to tell the tale. So it doesn't matter. When I say that all the things that we've ever known about and learned about come from these constructs. Oh, no problem, brother, man. It's a blessing, bro, just to be alive, man, and I'm glad that you enjoy it, bro. You know, but I have to give background to what's going on out of the book of Enoch, so when I get to going into the Deuteronomy for real, people get to understand, like, oh, Enoch seen all this in a vision already, and all the things I've read thus far have taken place to the T in the scripture. Where are we at? And it says, but the sheep escaped from that water. Verse 28, right? And went forth into a wilderness where there was no water and no grass. And they began to open their eyes and see. And I saw the Lord of the sheep pasturing them and giving them water and grass. And that sheep going and leading them. And that sheep ascended to the summit of that lofty rock. And the Lord of the sheep sent it to them. And the Lord of the sheep sent it to them. And after I saw the Lord of the sheep who stood before them, and his appearance was great and terrible and majestic, and all those sheep saw him and were afraid before his face. And they all feared and trembled because of him. And they cried to that sheep which was amongst them, We are not able to stand before our Lord. What? To behold him. Come on. What does that sound like, y'all? Right out the book of the Deuteronomy. Right out of, come on, as the whole time. That is what the people did. I had to read all that just to read that. Let me read that again to you. One more time. And after that, I saw the Lord of the sheep who stood before them. And his appearance was great and terrible and majestic. And all those sheep saw him and were afraid before his face. And they all feared and trembled because of him. And they cried to that sheep with them, which was amongst them. Quick caveat. Because Moses understands divine ordinance, which was taught to him in his upbringing as a child, okay, from what he understood, and then what was taught to him of the esoteric and so-called divine ordinance of the Egyptians, Moses has an understanding that the true Most High God can do no wicked, evil thing. Say that. So this is why Moses he fears the Most High God, but he doesn't operate in fear of the Most High God when he deals with the Most High God. There's a reason for this. The Most High God will never do anything unrighteous. So if you don't do anything unrighteous, why would something just out of nowhere happen to you? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Even when he tests you, only certain things happen. I'm just saying. We are not able to stand before our Lord and to behold him. And that sheep which led them again ascended to the summit of that rock. But the sheep began to be blinded and to wander from the way which he showed them. But that sheep wot not thereof, which is Moses. He didn't do what they were doing. And the Lord of the sheep was wrathful exceedingly against them. And that sheep discovered it and went down from the summit of the rock and came to the sheep and found the greatest part of them blinded and fall away. And when they saw it, they feared and trembled at his presence and desired to return to their folds. Now, also at the whatnot, they could also say that he was not aware. But look, I'm just going to say that he wasn't doing that because he wasn't there. So, and found the greatest part of them. 2/3 of them, and found 2/3 of them. If I wanted to say that, right? That's not me adding. That's just me if I didn't know nothing else. The greatest part is what? Come on. 2/3. At least, y'all. That's the depth of it. So the people who weren't doing it, right? If there were more people doing right than doing bad, they would have never been able to do bad. The good people would have killed the bad people. There's always going to be more bad around you than good if you allow for it to maintain itself. So that's how it is. Now let's just finish this out so that way we can all see what happens with Moses. And the Lord of the sheep was wrathful exceedingly against them. And that sheep discovered it and went down from the summit of the rock and came to the sheep and found the greatest part of them blinded and fallen away. And when they saw it, they feared and trembled at his presence and desired to return to their folds. And that sheep took other sheep with it and came to those, and came to those sheep that had fallen away and began to slay them. And the sheep feared his presence. And thus that sheep brought back those sheep that had fallen away, and they returned to their folds. Now, this is what the Most High God meant when he said, you didn't sanctify me. Moses was supposed to go get all the riders, touch the people up, and be like, shut up and keep walking. But if you look at it, this is why a dude was like, is it no little thing? Because they all felt like Moses was the coolest dude, but they felt like he was a dictator because they felt like, well, he's got the Most High God. They felt like it was like the unfair advantage. Like, well, it's not Moses' fault that he was the most meek man that lived when he was living. And I'm not the most humble person that lives right now, so couldn't even get close to that. But I'm humble when I need to be. But I'm just saying, Moses was the most humble man. Think about that. The most meek man while he yet lived. That's a big deal. And this is why he wasn't able to go through with some of the more, I won't say extreme, but more strict and hard-line things that the Most High God wanted to do, which would have still been keeping the covenant, but just not the way that they imagined. Okay. Where are we at? And when they saw it, they feared and trembled at his presence, talking about Moses, and desired to return to their folds. And that sheep took other sheep with it, and they came to those sheep which had fallen away, and began to slay them. And the sheep feared its presence, and thus that sheep brought back those sheep that had fallen away, and they returned to their folds. And I saw in this vision, till that sheep became what? A man, and built a house for the Lord of sheep, and placed all the sheep in that house. And I saw till this sheep, which had met that sheep, which led them, fell asleep. And it's talking about Aaron, passed away. And I saw till the great sheep, till all the great sheep perished. And it's talking about those of that generation, right? When they came back from the Valley of Clusters, right? Come on, I'm trying to break it down to y'all. The book of Enoch really does a very excellent job of telling what happens by and large. So even if you never read the scripture, and let's say you only had the book of Enoch, right? The book of Enoch's story, start to finish, of this so-called animal tale, right, is very vivid. And it gives you some clear details. Yo, where else did a wall of water stand up on this side or that side? Right. When else did the sheep pass away at 40 years and then all the great sheep had died? And it tells us that. Come on. Woo! How would Enoch know this, y'all? How could he? Come on. Only the Most High God could have showed him this. Y'all think it's a game? This is for real. I'm here. I told you I was born to do this. I was born to do this. They can take all that they want. It doesn't even matter. At this point, it doesn't even matter. I don't even care. It's not like they're ever going to mention or utter my name. So as long as the Most High God gets the glory in the end, and he takes them all down anyway, it doesn't even matter. Having said that, it is such a beautiful thing to reveal to the people how in one book written thousands of years before this book was ever put out, it already told us what was going to happen. And it's already told us, I know where we're at almost exactly in the timeline of this book. And I'll say no more about that. Let me keep reading. And I saw till this sheep which had met that sheep, which led them, fell asleep. And I saw till all the great sheep perished, and the little ones arose in their place. And they came to a pasture and approached the stream of water. Then that leader, which is that the stream of water is the Jordan. Come on, y'all. Then that sheep, their leader, which had become a man, because he had left his animalistic desires. He had overcome his animalistic desires and literally became a man. Come on. To the Most High God. Now that's something for everyone to ponder. At best, I'm a ram to the Most High God. At least I'm a sheep. Neither one hurts my cause. Still not a man to him, though. Just a filthy animal. Clean animal, but filthy. All animals are filthy. And that sheep, then that sheep, their leader, which had become a man, withdrew from them and fell asleep. And all the sheep sought it and cried over it with a great crying. Once again, why would you cry over a man that you killed? And I saw till they left off crying for that sheep and crossed over that stream of water. And there arose the two sheep as leaders in the place of them which had led them and had fallen asleep. Now you could claim that that's Eleazar and Joshua, but I claim that that's Caleb and Joshua. But that's neither here nor there. Listen, I love it. It's one of my favorite things ever to just talk about the scripture. Now let me go ahead and pick up the book of Deuteronomy. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I really hope y'all enjoyed hearing what was almost a book of Deuteronomy, run down. That was beautiful. Now we're just going to touch up a little bit here and just talk about some of the finer tuned things, right? And he's talking about, ordinances, right? Never forgetting the law. Let me go ahead and stress this. Never forget the law, people, even while we're here in bondage in this land, in free range bondage. Come on, hear me. We like free range chickens, and we can't even see it like that because they can slaughter us at will, right? They pick the roosters who they want to keep their lineage going, and at any time they'll get rid of you if you start crowing too loud, or crowing too early, or crowing too much, or crowing at all. Right. Am I lying? This is what it is. Never forget the laws while we're here, y'all. And this is what Moses was stressing. Do not forget him. Don't go over here. He's like, once you tear down all their buildings, to cut down all their trees, their groves, right? Their apple groves, their blueberry, whatever they got growing over here, right? Cut it all down. It's going to be another 5 years before they can even get to that. But you can get the things from the field right away. Follow me. Now, I don't know what the exact, once again, reason for that is, unless you wanted to use the fruit as a means to allow the dirt to try to come back, like a sacrifice to the earth almost, to try to restitute the sin of what the other nations had done. 5 years of purity or 4 years of purity, something like that. Of course, you're going to sacrifice to the Most High God, but I'm saying, like, to get the earth back right, the soil that's been all messed up from people doing God knows what with God knows who and God knows why. And Moses is reminding the people, he's like, hey, do you remember when we went out there to go fight all these kings? Guys like 30 feet tall, 40 feet tall. We went out there and smacked them up. He's like, remember that? He's just getting everybody rah. Like I said, remember, y'all, this is Moses, okay? This is like you could argue Moses is like the greatest leader in human form of all time. I could strongly contend that who's a better leader than Moses? Tell me who. Moses is the greatest leader of all time. For sure. Like I have to ponder these things. Of course I do. I think about all the great ones. King David is nowhere close. This man fathered a nation pretty much. Of course, with the hands of the Most High God doing all the real heavy lifting, but still, this man helped father a nation of people, a whole nation. Think about that. That's major. That's deadly major. That's super major. The man did that, and people want to be like, "Oh, he didn't do that." The man did that, nigga. Please, please. Anyway, let's keep going. No, Moses gets to see all the land, right? And when I'm gonna pick a couple things in here to read to y'all, but I don't want to get too carried away in reading the scripture. I kind of just want to go over what has taken place, and just remind y'all that that it's a sin to do certain things. Certain sins are punishable by death, but I could contend that all sins are punishable by death. Let me give you an example. A man is caught eating an unclean animal, right? Man brings it to the judges, to the priest. Man says, I haven't done it. Man can prove that the man says so, man has done it. They prove the thing has taken place. This man does not want to restitute. Does it not say if a person is being haughty, they're to be put to death? Now, I know, of course, people want to say if it's a matter too hard, the matter could get that serious. Where God's like, I didn't break the law. I didn't eat something unclean, and then come to find out he did. And then he's too proud to hold that L. Right. He got to go. See what I'm saying? Because now your sin isn't just eating an unclean animal. Now it's lying or whatever else. It's pride, all these other things that you're not supposed to. When you're wrong, yo. That's how life is really supposed to be. Some people can't take being wrong. Let me go ahead and give y'all another one. I don't know what is what. When I looked up, though, that a duck and a swan were kind of related, I just said, okay, I'll just stop. I won't eat duck anymore. You know, push come to shove if I'm not going to starve to death, but I'm like, okay, I'll let that be. Even though a duck to me doesn't seem like a filthy, nasty creature like a geese or a swan, I'm not even going to go and try to justify nothing. But that's just my perception. But I won't bother it. But a person would have a hard time telling me that just because a pigeon will eat just about anything people give to it doesn't make a pigeon unclean. A pigeon is a bird used in many of the sacrifices. A dove is the same way. A dove will diddy bop and gander about just like a pigeon will. So when you talk about, you know, the way that the animal lives and not just what the animal is, and let's just go ahead and be real. I cannot take away from my great review, but I will give you this much. When Noah was getting done with the ark, and the ark the water was just not starting to assuage from the earth and starting to recede, he sent out 2 birds. I bet you most people for $1 million don't know what those birds are. I'm going to tell you, though, without making you wait. One was a raven or a crow, some people argue. I believe it was a raven, though. You could say it was a crow. The other one is a dove or a pigeon. I believe it was a dove. However, follow what I'm saying. The crow didn't come back. Word? Right on? But the dove came back with an olive branch, with like the sprout of an olive branch. Now, once again, there's only 2 ways that this could be known that it's an olive branch. Number one, the clear, most obvious way is that the Most High God knows everything. He knows what an olive branch is. Number 2, Noah was so gamed up on what people call flora and fauna, he knew what the olive branch was when the dove brought it to him. Can't give y'all too much into that great review. The great review is going to be epic. When I say of epic proportions, I'm believing it could be one of the coldest things. Nobody's going to watch it but a few people. But when I say the information I'm going to dole out is going to be epic. It's going to be of grandiose proportions. I'm sure of that. Having said that, hear this right here. This is chapter 9, right? This is Moses, right? And he's talking. He says, "Hear, O Israel, thou goest this day across Jordan to inherit nations greater and stronger than yourselves, cities great and walled up to heaven." So these walls are so high. So understand, the walls that were broken down in these ancient wars, we'll never even know how big some of these cities were. We'll never even know how great. People talk about the grandiose of America. America doesn't even have walled cities. Think about that. America doesn't even have walled cities. It has buildings with walls, but it doesn't have walled cities. Y'all tripping. There are no clear borders in any city that's like boom, like you got to go through here. This is the only way in, only way out. It's not built like that here. There are no walled cities. They said it's walled cities up to heaven. Come on. So this is just giving y'all an understanding of the environment that if there's if somebody with nefarious means or somebody of an opportunistic mindset has within them the heart to do something like that, they're going to do it. It's a fact. No questions. And I just love the fact that people sometimes don't, they just don't look at it like that. That this so-called country we live in does not have walled cities. Come on. Trying to break it down to the people. One of these days, though, it'll really come into everybody's mind that this part of the Bible is not about us. It's about our ancestors, what they did, what they done, what they were about to do. The things that we read about, let's go ahead and jump forward, since, that's what people really want to hear. That Deuteronomy 28 action, right? They want to hear let me go ahead and go back. Whew. But it shall come to pass, verse 15 of Deuteronomy 28. If thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe all his commandments, as many as I charge thee this day, then all these curses shall come on thee. That has to do with, this is what has to do with us. Don't worry though. For those things that have happened, it means that our ancestors would have had to been and gone to these walled cities, right? These places with nations greater than us, right? Okay. One moment, one more page. Bang, bang, bang. Is that it? There we are, this page. And it says, for us to get to the curse part, you have to understand. You have to go and do all these things. You have to go and take over these people. You have to go and attempt and fail miserably all the way at what you're being told to do. So I need y'all to really think about this. Not only did they go over there and mix with these people, but they started to sleep with their mothers and their fathers and their brothers and their sisters and their aunties and their uncles and their parents' parents. Come on. Started to sleep with their children's children, started to sleep with animals, man with man and woman with woman. All right? Unscrupulous and unchecked actions against children that are punishable by death. So when we talk about them going into nations greater than them, these nations of giants practice these things. They're not good people. They're not good giants. They're not, if you want to call them jolly, whatever, they're evil and wicked. Everything about them has to go. And because your ancestors, our ancestors, my ancestors, failed at the helm miserably on all these charges in such a great number that it couldn't be dismissed and it couldn't be overlooked anymore. Does anybody want to look at that? This is what the Deuteronomy review is about, is that this was the last hurrah. This was go over there and do right. What did they do? They did wrong. They can't get right. What did the Most High God tell Moses? He said, Moses, you're not going to live to go over there. And not just that, they're going to turn aside from me and I'm going to break them off. All that they asked for. All that I told them that I would do. And guess what? It sounds appropriate that people thousands of years displaced are saying like, man, that was written thousands of years ago. What they got to do with now? Let me read it to you and break it down, brothers and sisters, what it's got to do with now. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe all his commandments. Excuse me. Let me put this out the way. As many as I charge thee this day, then all these curses shall come on thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt be thou in the city. Sound familiar to black people? Cursed shall be thou in the field. Sound familiar to black people? Cursed shall be thy barns and thy stores. Sound familiar to black people? Cursed shall be the offspring of thy body. Sound familiar to black people? I don't have to keep reading, but I will. One moment. And the fruits of thy land, and the herds of thine oxen, and the flocks of thy sheep, cursed shall be thy in thy coming in, and cursed shall be thy in thy going out. You have no peace ever. That's what that sounds like to me. Right. Who does that sound like? But black people. Cursed, 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 right? See, this is why I push so hard against folks who try to claim that the so-called Jewish lineage people are the people. I'm like, because these things, they can't document any of them in history. They come from the Ottoman Empire. They're part of a lineage of people who literally, up until 100 years ago, literally up 100 years ago, they were the largest empire on earth. They got broken down, and then 25 years after the Ottoman Empire got broken down, oh, guess what happens? Right. They force, or 27 years later, they force down the throats of people who were not indigenous to the land anyway. All these things being proven in a 1,500-year history. All these things, you could go back and look at the Crusades and then really start to look at the transatlantic slave trade much differently. Anyway, when you start to look at how it all plays out and just understand that there's characters, okay, who they took over a whole land, a small part of the land, that would not represent the actual land mass that these people lived in. Nobody understands that. Right. The whole world allowed for the Ottoman Empire, they allowed for the Ottoman Turks to come and take another piece of land under the guise and name of another people. The Ottoman Turks can never tell you when this happened to them. They were known for brute savagery, merciless people, known for what folks want to call cunning, but I call cowardice. Attacking folks exclusively almost at night. Known for it. Where do you think these doctrines come from? It's not biblical. It's not biblical. When folks start to actually look at it and say, you know what? When it says that the Lord send upon thee want and famine and consumption on all things which thou shalt put thy hand, until he shall have utterly destroyed thee, until he shall have consumed thee quickly, because of thine evil devices, because thou hast forsaken me. Stop right there. People, your ancestors did things that you are trying to do right now and you think are good. And the Most High God said that they were evil. And yet right now, folks are trying to justify these things and call them normal. And say that just because it can take place, it should be accepted in its happenstance. Nonsensical foolery. But it's because of folks like that there is no true justice. There can't be. If 2/3 of us are wickedly evil, I want y'all to think about the numbers, what I'm trying to say to right now. If 2 out of every 3 black people have a mental disorder, come on. I'm coming with the axe to grind. The Most High God said it, not me. If 2 out of every 3 have a mental deficiency, so much so that they'll do the wrong thing, knowing that it's wrong, hoping to get a positive result from it. Is that not the curse? That's the curse, y'all. That is the curse. That's the curse. There is no curse outside of that. What else is there, y'all? Tell me. Somebody tell me what else is there, because I'm hard to see it. I'm hard up on seeing it. Right. Their issue is that they come from 430 years they were with the Egyptians. The Egyptians practiced these same things, did these same things. Right. Look what happened to the Egyptian empire. It's no more. That place they call Egypt is not Egypt. And the black people who are actually truly Egyptians, they put them on the back burner. They act like they don't even exist. There's people who look just like me in Egypt right now. Right now, to this day. Procreating and all that. And been procreating for all these thousands of years. Their families have never left Egypt. They've been in Egypt for as long as they know. Think about this for a moment. That's a major thing. Okay? So when I say what I'm saying, all of us who are going through this are not living in this land. But I'm only worried about them here. That's my primary concern. Because their mental deficiency is one that I can address because I've seen what they've gone through. I can understand the affliction. But there is no excuse for the mental depravity. There is no excuse. The wicked are like that before they're born. I need y'all to understand. They've been like that. They were always like that. Okay? And I can't prove that, 2/3 of the people probably have questionable lineage. And I'm talking about their fraternal roots are not in question. It's who their fraternal bloodline bred with down the line that's in question. That's what makes all of it so like, oh yeah, that ain't right. Now, I know people don't want to hear. Some of the folks we're here with right now in America are Moabites, are Ammonites. Yes, some of them are Kittites. Some of them are Hivites. Some of them are Jebusites and Girgasites. Yes, this is how it is. Some of the very people that we're here with right now are these people. And I know folks have a hard time understanding and seeing this because their minds are the way that they are. They're not inclined to reading. And that's not my issue. You follow what I'm saying? They don't read, so I can't educate them. They can't educate themselves for darn sure. And they don't have the required level of understanding that would go with their literacy to actually complement what they're doing, which is to gain knowledge. Come on. They don't have that ability. And I'm trying to tell people that I know for a fact that some of the people who were brought here with us, who are here right now, but this is why I don't be saying nothing. This is why I'm in radio silence, because everybody already knows everything. And you know what I'm saying? And I have to keep reminding myself, even when there's a couple people who appreciate it, but really everybody thinks they know it all already, right? I had a man tell me and was dead serious, pretty much, and I felt like he was trying to change the scripture to fit his beliefs. And everything that he says sounds like what he got from another man. Hold on. Man said that chicken was unclean to eat based on what he observed it to do one time. Not something that he knows, not anything that he ever read. Not even knowing that there's chickens that fly. He based his understanding on the fact that chickens don't fly. But not putting in his mind that there's unclean birds that clearly take flight. So what would flight have to do with the cleanliness of the bird? And then said that things that creep on the earth, hold on, let me break it down to you. Then had the audacity, unmitigated gall, to say that chickens creep upon the earth. This man doesn't know that to creep upon the earth, your face has to normally either be on the ground or looking at the ground. Oh, right. Like a dog or something like that, like a rat. Right. Chickens don't creep. No bird creeps. Their body, all birds have an upright posture. Well, I mean, for the most part, you get what I'm saying. That's just how they're built. Their heads are up. Their heads don't naturally look down. They have to actually crane their necks to do that. So when people don't understand, I'll be like, okay, well, that's fine. They don't have any understanding. But since y'all know so well, one of y'all smart people later on, somebody, anybody, please tell me, if you saw a Hivite, a Jebusite, and a Girgashite right now, would you actually know the definitive difference from them and a Moabite and an Ammonite and an Israelite? Would you actually know the difference between that and an Amalekite? Would you actually know the difference? Would you know? You wouldn't. The people who are here in this country right now, who've been given a certain level of status, are strangers of strangers. Let me break it down to you. There are people who've gotten higher up than a normal regular nig can get. But there's nigs who are around them who don't look like them, who aren't really nigs like them, who've gotten even higher up than them because they're strangers within their level of strangeness. Come on, let me break it down to you. Let me just give y'all a quick example. How do you think it's a guy like any kind of political, think of any kind of political person and think of any famous black person? How does a person who talk on TV who doesn't have millions of dollars, how do they have more pull than a black person who has millions of dollars, who has millions of fans, who can influence their fans, so-called followers, people who supporters, whatever you want to call them, extended family? Think about that for a moment, somebody. How does that take place? Unless that person's a stranger within you, and the stranger within you's gotten higher up above you. It's the only way that takes place. It has nothing to do with Duyan coming over there and being able to set up businesses. I'm positive, 100,000% positive. Okay? That's just part of our people being a prey and a plunder, okay? And nobody here to help us. Right. We are a spoil and a prey, plundered by everyone. So they're not the stranger within you. They're just plunderers and spoilers, okay? And predators. Big difference. But the stranger within you who's higher up above you, that's not it. Those two things. Once again, this is why I don't even contend with people. What is there to talk about? They can't even distinguish those different things. They're not the same. Do they seem the same to you? And this is why I'm like, the Deuteronomy is such an epic thing, because Moses is like, look, man, when y'all go over here, y'all gonna be breaking heads apart, busting them down. These gonna be people who look like y'all. Some of them don't look nothing like y'all. Okay? You're not to do what they're doing, because what they do is not right. If it was right, you wouldn't even be getting this land. Come on. But this is what happened. Our people went. I need y'all to understand this. Black men, anywhere from the height of, let's say, I'll be generous and say, let's say from 5'7", give or take a couple inches, to 5'11", give or take a couple inches. This is the regular height of the people. Those size men, and from the weight of, I don't know, 135 pounds, give or take 5 pounds, 10 pounds, to 185 pounds, give or take 10 pounds, 5 pounds. That's the weight differential between all these people on average. Follow what I'm saying. Regular size built people, it doesn't matter what their muscles look like or none of that. These are regular size people. Literally manhandling in some of these instances giants who are well over the height of 20 feet. King Og was 27 feet tall, y'all. History has it wrong. History cut his height in half to not scare people. Right. And to not blow up how tall the character was that the Israelites were killing. Because then you'd have to wonder, like, dang, well, how'd they do all that? Clearly the Most High God. And this is what makes all the giants know, like, look, dude, these guys are, this guy's 5'8". This guy's 17 foot tall. He literally just ran over and just cut him in half. How could he do that? It's impossible. It's physically impossible. We've literally conquered people bigger and stronger than them, and they've never been able to do anything like that to us. And they're doing the impossible. Moses is telling them, don't fear, don't worry about it. Right. Like he said, who can make 1,000 flee from one, or tens of thousands flee from two? Understand what I'm saying? Unless the Most High God literally takes over your whole, he sends that little, I don't know what it is, a spark, a buzz, like the actual line to his frequency, and you just tap in for a little second and you just wreck house. That's what's going on. The Israelites had this ability. And I know this is why people will be like, well, why are black people this and that, this and that? Now I'm like, because we're susceptible to cancers because we're already naturally radiated. I've been trying to break this down to people for a long time. We're naturally radiated people. Come on. I need y'all to understand, the Most High God built man with the level of radiation in him. This is why we look the way we do. So you don't need extra of it. We don't need any more of it. What they think is melanin, come on, if they really knew anything, is a form of radiation. But they're stupid and they don't know nothing. I am the only man who will ever tell you that. I'm not afraid to lose my lunch money over it. Because there's going to be more than one bully to say something retarded out their mouth. Trust and believe me, people. The Most High God created man with a natural level of radiation. This is why our skin glows, literally. This is why Moses' skin was glowing out of control, because the Most High God gave him an extra dose of that. Trying to break it down. I can't give you everything that I got put away for a great review. I can't. I can give you what I got for right now, though. And I can tell you that you have met more people who are either the stranger within or a total Gentile than you have met of your actual people in your whole life. This is a fact. I want y'all to think about this. How many black people do you know have two black parents who both grow afros? Think about that. And this is not taking a shot at anybody. There's a lot of black people who grow afros who one of the parents don't grow an afro, the other one does. I know a bunch of brothers and sisters like that. I'm not taking shots at nobody, but think about what I'm saying. Some of the people that folks have been blood mixing with, their families have been blood mixed down or out. Right. And ain't nobody going to tell me no different. They're not going to say, oh, Meech, you don't know what you're talking about. Man, I seen it. I sees this with my own two eyes. Everybody else sees it too, but I'm the only one who's willing and brave enough to say, hey, check this out. Maybe that one big nig mentality an umbrella is what's holding us all back. And there should be, if you want to call it diversity within a certain genus group, and then there's an expansion on the greater understanding of this genus group because there's a root source to it, and then there's exterior influencers who become major parts of the root source. So, i.e., the fallen angels breeding with man and becoming, and then their children becoming an integral part to certain DNA groups, to certain parts of certain gene structures and certain genealogies, right? It's a major thing. It's not something you can just overlook. And when you try to put that past you, you have to realize if they had done what they were supposed to do, the stranger within you would not even be a possibility. Right. Get me. The people had been subjected by a branch of the Hamitic bloodline who were not a subjective people. They were not a humble type people. So the Canaanites, or the children of Canaan, all of that whole umbrella, they were cursed to be servitile, right? To both their brother tribes. But that's just one of the children of Cam. Mizraim and Pud, right? And Nebrad. And what's my other man's? And Kus, or Cush as people like to call him, right? Just follow what I'm saying. They're not subservient. They're not servitile. They don't have that mentality. That's not in their gene structure. Homosexuality may be, but servitile's not. Right. So when you have a group of people who are subjected by a non-servitile race of people who are directly related to another group of people that your land is whose land you're going into, who are a servitile people, it changes the whole dynamics. Right. So on one level, you could say that the Egyptians perverted the children of Israel. Okay, that's fine. The Most High God removed them from that environment. He's going to take them into the land of Canaan. Then what do? Okay. They're with the subservient people whom they have the ability to impress their ways upon and change their whole way of life. What do? The people allow themselves to be influenced by people that they're supposed to be influencing. How does that work? That's how you know that they're sheep. Right. Because sheep are followers, not natural leaders. This is why in the book of Enoch, they're called sheep. Right. This is why David is likened, well, we'll get to that, but David's likened to a ram and some of the other ones who come down later on. But that's also a hint to that they're from a different gene structure. Right. That they've been mixed around a little bit. Right. This is something for people to really just stand back and look at. If Lot's a Hebrew, what kind of animal is Lot? If Abraham is a white bull? See what I'm saying? So is the Lord of the sheep just the Lord of the sheep of the children of the right? Follow what I'm getting at right now. The Hebrews, I believe, have the tendency to be a very similar way. But this group of Hebrew people have a tendency to be a similar way, even more like so. This is why now I can say it. When people try to knock that whole, I only came here for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. One moment. I think a lot of people overrate I think a lot of people overrate the Pauline part of the New Testimony and really undermine and underrate all the stuff before Paul and pretty much everything after Paul without with due to serious regard to the book of Revelations, because unless you have read the scripture and have a grasp of the story and actually have really read the book of Enoch and have a okay understanding in the book of Enoch, you shouldn't read the Revelations, because there's a lot of references from the book of Enoch in the Revelations. And that's why I don't really like it, because it's not all a lie. It's just a lot of lies. And that's what I can't rock with. But when you talk about the New Testimony and you talk about the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? We go back to the first stuff I read about. You see what I'm saying? You see how deep it is? How could Enoch know that? But better question, how could Jesus guy know that? Am I tripping? Somebody tell me I'm tripping. See, this is what makes people sound so literally lost. They can say, oh, they had the book of Enoch. They put all that stuff in there. Okay. The book of Enoch wasn't translated up until I don't know when. Until like the 1900s almost. Like translated. You guys got to understand, the languages that the Bible was written in before was not English. So they could have had the book of Enoch in any language. It wouldn't have been in English. The Ethiopian helped the dude, what's his name, man? Let me see. Translated from the Ethiopian by R.H. Charles, 1906. So up until 1906, there was no definitive translation of the book of Enoch. You had to have somebody there who could actually translate it and read it themselves. He did the yeoman's work to go find somebody who would not try to adulterate and change things that were not there. Things that there are points where there's like ... You get that there's probably some information that they couldn't translate. That's fine. I'd rather you not put it there. Right. If you can't translate it, don't put it there and try to confuse me and lie. Right. Because that just makes the most sense. Now, key note, the Ethiopian people speak several different dialects. Some of them speak super old languages. I know for a fact the Ethiopian who translated this probably spoke a dialect that many Ethiopians don't even speak anymore. Come on. I'm trying to break it down to y'all. So they're all in on it? I want y'all to think about this. How could they all know, man? And then people have the nerve to call them cave beasts. And so how could they have kept up with all these things for all these years and still be cave beasts and all these other things? Make up your minds. This is why I know my people are smoked with blindness, insanity, and astonishment of the mind. They have to be to say things like that. I'm one of few people who I believe that my mind has been rescued from the unquestionable unsoundness of this land. And I refuse to let my people live in the dark. And when I say things like, how could Jesus guy know that? They translated this, brothers and sisters. They translated the stuff from the New Testimony. Somebody kept records of something. Something happened. The Romans took note of something. The Romans got crushed, though, by the same people who call themselves the Franks, okay, who go on to call themselves the French, the German, the Deutsch, and all kinds of other groups of people. Those people would later turn on the Romans after learning their fighting prowess and have amalgamated to a certain level. Anyway, how do you get all these translations? How is everybody in on it? Enoch was alive thousands of years ago. How is he in on it, y'all? Right. This is the deepest part about everything. This is why I know what I'm telling everybody is the truth. Whether people want to hear it or not, I know to a degree it's kind of scary. Right? God is watching. All his angels are watching right now. I can't make this up. If I'm lying, I'm dying, y'all. Let them kill me right now on this live stream about telling a lie. Telling you. There is a serious connection between all the understanding. And people must give credence to what is there. In the Deuteronomy, there is more to our current condition than any other book. But it's just unfortunate because it's the battle orders going into the land of Canaan, going over Jordan. So people don't see it. So if you look at it from a historical point of view, if you're looking at it from the point that it would have been read to them present day as if it were now, then it doesn't apply to us because these things would have to take place. But if we're looking at it from a historical point of view of past tense, and these things have already happened, then we're trying to find who or what people best fit the description of these things to a T. There's only one genealogy. That's right. That's right. It's the Afro people. Afro-bearded people, to be more specific. We've been ostracized by the world for turning our back on the Most High God, as we should have. We are getting what we deserve from the world because they deserve to laugh at us, and we deserve to be laughed at. If you are who you believe that you say you are, that means that your people were in this book and they did everything that they were not supposed to do. And because of that, we are here. If you cannot own that, if you cannot accept that, the Most High God will not accept you back. I know this for a fact. He says that he who he accepts will be rebuked. So the rebuke that we go through, like people stealing my car, people stealing things that I had mailed to me, that's just part of life. This is part of my rebuke. I can't fix it. I can't make it different. All I can do is accept it and let it be. Right. Worse things have happened to much greater people, much better people, for far less things. So the way I look at it is that I'm still here. I'm able to give the message to my people. As I get ready to roll out this next handful of minutes, I love these types of reviews. This is going to be, to me, this is like the one that is going to be the backbone for a lot of the other reviews that I've done. And that, and especially the great one going forward, it's going to be huge. A lot of people won't probably watch it. It's unfortunate. I wish they would. It would do them a lot of justice to really see that the connection between the New Testimony and the book of Enoch is indisputable. 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 Right. And you would make it, Jesus God made it clear, I'm only here for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I need y'all to know that he turned down a woman who was, by nationality, she was Grecian, okay? But she was Phoenician, okay? All right? Listen to me. How could she be a Phoenician woman of the same land that the people had just went into or have been from, right? Her people have been those who corrupted the people to so many different ways and degrees. The people corrupted themselves. How could she not be considered one of the lost sheep of the house of Israel unless, that's right, she's not the people? Guess what? And she's black too. See what I'm saying? So this character had a clear understanding of who he was about, who he wanted to reach out to. Why would he say that? Think about that. Why would white people put that in a book where black people later on could find out that they are potentially the children of Abraham, the true children of Abraham? Why would they put that in a book? And why would they translate the book of Enoch to tell you that? It doesn't make sense. It makes zero sense that they did that on purpose. Jesus guy was real. Somebody said that. And he was only here for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Was he here for the lost tigers or lions? The lost hyenas or swine or wild boars or foxes or squirrels or kites or ravens or eagles or hyenas? Huh? Was he here for the dogs or the wolves? Did he come here for them, y'all? I'm just asking. Or did he not say, I'm here for them? I'm trying to draw the true parallel and comparison that nobody probably has ever done for you. There is a lot going on, a lot more going on than people could ever give credit to. I wish I could show you every little thing, that I can't show you every little thing that I know. I've been trying to for years. And only about a third of my people are receptive. The other 2/3 take what they want and, leave my carcass on the side of the road, metaphorically. So this is where we're at, Black people. Our ancestors failed the calling. Will you fail the calling? Will you fail to call out? Will you fail to cry out to your God? And will you banish all of us to a life of sure death? It's on you, Black people. The ball is literally in your court. Stop thinking you can save yourselves. You can't vote your way out of this one. You can't fight your way out of this one. You can't love or hate your way out of this one. All you can do is pray your way out of this one and ask the Most High God to come get us. It has been an honor to have read all 5 of the books of the Pentateuch, of the Torah, of the Tanakh to you beautiful people. I pray to the Most High God in heaven that his name be exalted on high forever and ever, long after I'm dead. And that one day people know that it was kindred souls that did their best. And that's how we got out of this. We didn't get out of this because somebody with 100,000 subs cared to tell the people that we're gonna, by the strength of our own hands, we're gonna do it. No, there were those among you who said that we will depend on our God to do what he did for our ancestors in the past. I believe in this book. I believe what he said. I believe what is written. I know he's done it. And I just know that it just takes enough of us to tune into that frequency. One time is all it takes, and all of this is over. Do any of you understand the gravity of that? If we do it right one time, he comes back. It's the end. I know that's terrifying. That it's over for a lot of the things, but it doesn't mean that all life is over. It just means that the end of the ways that we know will be done forever. And the more you get tired of living here, the more you're going to want to see that. But the more you sin, the further away you will get away from the Most High God. Atonement is not easy. It is an everyday process. I repent every day. I seek atonement every day. There is not a day I don't seek to atone. That is a part of the process. It's a vital part of the process. It's how you grow and you mature as an adult and as a grown person, as a man and as a woman. And that's how you teach your children, your little boys and your little girls. Because I don't believe that you're raising little baby goats. I don't think you're raising kids. I think you're raising a person, a human being who has unique feelings and desires and affections that they can express at the highest level, at the highest affirmation, and give thanks. And stand up and do this. Right? And lift their hands up, right? You see what I'm saying, though? I mean, that's what it means. That's what it means. When you can do that, when you can stand up and put your hands up, there is no form of life higher than that. That is to reach up to God. There is no action you can take that has more personal satisfaction when you can really appreciate what I'm saying to you. When you have 2 feet to stand on and 10 toes on them, no matter how bad your ankles and your shins and your knees hurt and your hips hurt and all those things hurt and your thighs hurt, and your glutes hurt, no matter how much, all of your back, your spine, all of it, your whole body, no matter how much, it all hurts. When you have everything and your mind works and you can stand up and go Godward, you have power that no dead man could ever have. That's something that people just don't understand. There are people who live who are almost dead in their vessel. They cannot go Godward. They cannot stand Godward. All they can do is lay. But they can look Godward, hopefully. But I'm just telling y'all the truth. You have a unique ability while you yet live. Are you going to be a part of the people who say nothing to the Most High God and continue to pray to be made equal to the devil? And continue to ask for a valueless restitution from a people who must be destroyed from off the face of the earth? Given their own admissions, nothing that I'm saying that I wish to happen upon them, things that they say that must happen to themselves. If you continue to ask for things that the Most High God said that he will give to you, not your enemies. When we get ours, there will be no haste or tumult. There will be no asking for it. We will rend what is ours from those who will not give it. And we will execute justice as we do so. Brothers and sisters, before I leave you, I just had to say this. There is no God but the Most High God. I am not a zealot. I am not an extremist. I am none of those things. I am simply a man who has read this book and has a strong grasp and appreciation for what it is that he has read. And I will not forsake my lineage, my heritage, my blood for another. I will not give what is mine unto another because the Most High God gave it to me. I encourage you while you yet live in this land, because it is incumbent upon our survival as a people, as a species, as a race, as the special, unique ones that we are. For there are many, many blacks around this world who look just like us, who are not just like us. We are a very special people. They are special in their own rights, but we are a very special people. And I say this, it only takes a few of us to move the needle. I pray that one day you pray that the Most High God come and rescue us. Right then and there. I know that day, I don't know if it's 100,000. I don't know if it's 2,000. I don't know if it's 10,000. I don't know what the number is. But I know that that day where all of us are in unison one time, and we ask the Most High God, and it'll be a legitimate thing. I don't think there's nothing that we can force. It will be an event that makes us realize that this is a hopeless situation. For some, they will realize it. Others will believe that there can be a triumph from the tragedy. I am not one who will believe in such. I will believe in that moment. It is our time to ask for the Most High God to save us and to surrender all of our hopes and ambitions in this land into the garbage pile, that he may come and rescue us for sure, and to shew unto all the disbelievers who is the Most High God. Because I will bow my knee and I will confess and profess from my tongue, no problem. I have no issue. But will they, or will they be slain and thrown in the pit of fire? I just ask and I wonder that. You have to wonder that too. How much longer do you think this can go, y'all? They manipulated the concept of time. I told you this. Benjamin Banneker, 1753. It's a big deal. The sun is up right now. That means it's day. When the sun goes down, it's no longer day, no matter what time it is. On the clock. They have manipulated the time. When the time comes, we shall know. And I just ask my people to call unto the Most High God, to return unto him and repent. For there is repenting to be done. and there is atonement to be sought. Brothers and sisters, I salute you, all that you are and all that you aren't, all that I am not and all that I will ever be and all that I've ever been. I appreciate the Most High God for. And I hope that you appreciate him too. I love y'all. And may you take this special review with you and keep it in your minds and hearts and close to you in these days. Spiritual Gumbo, out.